morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where in the world you're joining us from. Welcome to our GenAI Demo Day, brought to you by our friends at Refay, AnswerRocket, CrowdVotics, and DataRobot. I'm Brian Mink, co-founder and president of Data Science Connect, the world's largest data and AI community. Today, we're excited to welcome hundreds of attendees from all over the world for an exclusive virtual event showcasing the most innovative GenAI solutions through concise 10-minute demos. At DSC, we value your time and have designed this event to provide impactful demos without any unnecessary fluff. Quickly identify solutions that meet your business needs and connect directly with the top leaders of pioneering GenAI companies. We're honored to hear from a distinguished group of experts today from some of the leading solutions in AI. Mohan Atreya, Chief Product Officer at Refay, Joey Gasparic, Enterprise Accounts at AnswerRocket, Jason Kozel, Enterprise and Strategic Solutions Architect at CrowdVotics, and Justin Swansberg, VP Applied AI and Data Science at DataRobot. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. To make this feel a little more in person, we suggest you add a photo to your profile and include your bio, LinkedIn profile, and any other information you'd like your fellow attendees to see. Next, please take advantage of the Q&A and chat features throughout the webinar. We're dedicating a portion at the end to Q&A, so be sure to upvote the questions you'd like the panel to address. If you're wondering where your organization stands compared to others on your AI journey, check out the poll question in the right sidebar. And finally, if you'd like to learn more about any of the solutions you see today or book a full demo, check out the calls to action below throughout the webinar from our sponsors Refay, AnswerRocket, CrowdVotics, and DataRobot. Now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mohan from Refay.
Thank you, Brian. Really appreciate it. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes just setting the stage for the problem, and my plan is to show a quick demo of the whole experience that you can provide your users. So let's start with setting the context. One of the big challenges. There's actually two personas in any organization. There's developers, data scientists, and then there's IT. And what we consistently hear from data scientists and developers is, man, I wish we can be more productive. The lack of self-service is seriously impacting how I can do stuff, how fast I can do stuff. And then for me to do my job, I need access to data. And man, it's so hard to get access to data for me to do my GenAI initiatives. And then the other thing we consistently hear from people is, my productivity, again, is impacted because I have, in addition to the self-service problem, I'm dealing with the snowflake environment. What works for me doesn't work for my colleague. They can't reproduce anything, all these hassles. Now, if you look at the IT side, what they complain about is, man, we're spending $5 million, $10 million on buying all these GPUs and setting all of that up. And then, I can't give it to people. There's a lot of wastage. How do we deal with that? And then, because IT is not able to get their act together in many cases, what do developers and data scientists do? They go rogue. There's a lot of shadow IT in the industry today where people swipe a credit card, get access to a GPU because they have to make progress, right? They can't sit around, wait for IT and ops to provide stuff. The last thing is, because IT can't get a standardized environment for developers and data scientists, people end up having duplicate environments, which kind of balloons the costs, and everything looks this double, triple of what it should be. So imagine we can somehow solve these challenges. I mean, I'm sure these challenges you recognize very quickly. So imagine if IT were able to set up a shared environment with a shared pool of GPUs, right? And a developer is provided a self-service portal where they come in, or a data scientist in this matter, they come in and say, hey, give me a workbench. In a couple of minutes, the workbench shows up, right? On that shared environment, you're getting a slice of that. Imagine if you're a GenAI developer and say, hey, I just need to do some fine-tuning this afternoon. I click a button, I get a workbench, a slice of that underlying infrastructure. I get access to 1 GPU or 2 GPUs, and I'm all good. I'm happy. I can do my job. So let's see this in action, what this would look like, right? And then let's see how we actually have been helping our customers deliver and address all the challenges that I described a couple of minutes ago. But let's see this in action. What I'm going to first start with is, what would this shared environment with a whole lot of GPUs look like, and then we'll pivot to the self-service portal and see what the experience is for the developer or the data scientist. Okay, so let me start with this view first. So here, as you can see here, I'm now an IT admin. I have set up a massive cluster. The hope is that all my data scientists and developers, maybe hundreds of them, right? They can all be serviced from this one pooled environment, right? So as you can see here, I have 12 GPUs hanging off this cluster, right? And I can scale this up, scale this down. I can make sure I can run this very efficiently. So I have 12 GPUs. I want to give a slice of this to some users and take it away when they don't need it. So now let's see how a data scientist or a developer can literally at the click of a button get access to an environment where they can do their GenAI experiments, right? So let's go see that. So I'm going to now pivot to the self-service portal. Every user who is authorized into this by IT or ops, all they have to do is log in. And as you can see here, there's a self-service portal where they can request for a bunch of standardized services. The lowest atomic unit out of that is a GPU compute instance. We'll skip that for today. But what I'm going to talk about today is the stuff for GenAI, right? A couple of the things out of the many services that are available in the self-service portal. The first one is, let's say I want to run an inference endpoint for my team. I'm trying to go spin up, I don't know, maybe Llama or something else inside. So I go and click launch, and then I'm given a choice of a bunch of models that the company says, hey, you can use any of these, right? I don't have to wait for like a 100 GB model to get downloaded and staged, and the infrastructure, the GPU. I mean, notice I'm not even asking for GPUs here, right? It's automatically provisioned for me on that host infrastructure that I showed you. All I do is choose the model and launch it, right? This takes, of course, a couple of minutes, so can't squeeze that into a demo, but let me show you an example that I ran here. This is something I ran yesterday, preparing for this demo. This is a GenAI workbench, and this, when I launched it, and I chose the Stability AI's recent LLM, is Stable LM 216B, right? And as you can see here, it's giving me a certain serving endpoint that I can hit. I can share this with I can share the authentication credentials with my team if I want to. So I can either use it just for myself or for a whole team and share that to try my stuff, right? So we'll be hitting this in a couple of minutes with an example just to show you that this is real, right? So let's actually try that. So what I've done is, this is running in my data center on, actually, let me show you that environment that's running to this particular initiative. You notice here, this as you can see, this cluster is running hot because I'm running a pretty large LLM on it, and this is not heavily resourced. So this is actually what is going to be responding to my request that I'm going to be making here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot to my CLI. All I have to do is I've written a Python code. It's a simple LLM Python code. And if I go look at the code, it's basically saying, please go hit that URL. And I'm going to give an input of a prompt. And let's say I'm a GenAI developer who's trying out various prompts with that LLM that I was running. I'm just going to run this Python code as a developer or a data scientist and see how it behaves, right? Let's go try that. This is a very simple example here, of course, and I'm going to hit that. And what it's doing is I'm working on my laptop here. My data center is somewhere in Phoenix where my GPU cluster is running. I don't have a VPN. I don't have anything, but I'm somehow able to like launch it and I'm able to use it, right? I just sent a prompt and I got a response. And if I want to try something else, I could just change the prompt and I'd get a response. And I can continue doing my work literally without having to deal with the challenges of, well, where do I get a GPU? What environment do I run? Why is it working in my environment, not working in my colleague's environment? And IT is saving a boatload of money because they have created a converged infrastructure with 12, 15, 20, 100 GPUs, and they can easily vend slices of that to developers and data scientists and take it back when they don't need it, right? So it's as simple as that. Now, let me kind of get to the last thing, and then I guess it's a quick fire demo, so we'll just get to that. So another thing that we get frequently from customers is, hey, inferencing, great, I got it. What about fine tuning? And what we've done here is we have made that for our customers extremely clinical and easy to use, right? So what does that mean? So if I'm a developer or a data scientist and I want to fine tune something, what are the things I need? Well, essentially, I only need three things, right? Outside the infrastructure, I need three things. I need a point to where my data set is. So in this case, you notice here, the admin is already said and pre-programmed saying that, hey, our enterprise data is sitting in these locations, and I get a pointer to it. I don't need to be given access to this S3 bucket or Databricks or something else, right? It's given to me. Or rather, the model gets access to the data. And then I say, hey, which model do you want to pick for your fine tuning? You're given a list, you pick from that, or you can request access to something else. And then you say, once it's fine tuned, where do you want to store the model, right? You, again, are provided a location where the fine tuned model will be stored, and then you can use it in your inferencing, right? So you just pick these, and notice here again, I'm not being asked for any infrastructure, GPUs. I don't even have to deal with it, right? It's given to you automatically out of that converged infrastructure that IT has created for me. All I do is hit save, and everything comes up, and the inferencing gets complete. It's stored in that location. And then when I go and say, hey, I want to run an inference server with that, all I have to do is go back to the same thing and say, hey, I want a new inference endpoint, and I choose my new fine-tuned LLM from that list, and I'm running my model. So we have customers effectively doing fine-tuning, inferencing, everything. They have teams going live with all this in hours, right? Abstracted away from the infrastructure, abstracted away from all the complexity of data access and all those problems. And everyone just logs in, 2 clicks, doing their job. Now, I'm not going to go into the details on all the other things that we can also provide, like compute instances, Jupyter notebooks, but I think you get the gist of everything. Has a very similar click here, and you get access to what you need, everything working off common infrastructure. But if you want to learn more about it, I would recommend you try one of these. We give free tenants and orgs in our SaaS platform. So you can just go to this particular URL and get access to that. All our documentation is open. You can, and when you log in, if you want to try stuff, just go to our docs and use it. And we do post, blogs and videos very frequently. We have a YouTube channel where we post a lot of content. Just go to YouTube and search for Rafe Systems, and you'll subscribe, and you'll see a bunch of videos, etc. If you want to talk to us, of course, contact us. We're happy to help. So, Brian, I think that was a pretty fast session. Hopefully, I stayed on time. If there are any questions, do we take them now, or do we take them towards the end?
If you could, I think we're just about on to the next demo now, but if you guys would like to book a consultation with Rafe, we've got in the bottom right-hand corner here, click on that button and reach out with any questions, or if you'd like to see further all the bells and whistles of this solution. That's a great place to do it if you want to request a consultation. So thank you, Mohan, for an excellent demo. Very much enjoyed it, and looks like a great solution. So thank you for joining us. Next up, we've got Joey Gaspierek from AnswerRocket.
Awesome. Okay. Well, first off, thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you all and explain what AnswerRocket does and how we might be able to help from a GenAI perspective. My name is Joey Gaspierek. I'm an account executive here at AnswerRocket. I've been with the company for 7 years, working with our global enterprise accounts. So excited to show you more about what we do. I'm going to start with a few slides that just give a little background and overview of the company. Then I'll do a live demo of our solution. And what is AnswerRocket? That's a good one to start with, right? Well, we're a GenAI analytics solutions company, and we're really helping some of our customers that you see on the screen here accelerate their time to insight, and specifically for their business users' time to insight. And what that means is this is a sort of a visual representation of the problem that exists at all of our customers. I've been presenting a version of this slide for 7 years, and I think I'm batting 1,000 when I go into a business team or even an analytics team or an IT team and say, hey, here's the problem. And that is every user has access to data, whether that's in a dashboard or a spreadsheet or a pivot table, you name it, right? They've got access to this data, but usually they have questions, right? They see that they're losing volume or that something's going on with a competitor, or their margins are seeing an issue, and they want to know why is that. And if the IT team were there, they'd say, well, you can get to it on the dashboard that we've built for you, but the business users are like, no, 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 I don't want to filter anything. Anytime I do that, I get paralyzed. So I'm going to go to the analysts and ask them. And then that becomes a very expensive question to answer, where the analyst gets pulled off of what they're doing and goes and gathers the right data and crunches the numbers and puts the analysis together and brings in the insights, the visualizations, packages it up, sends it back to that business user. And then the business user goes, oh, wow, this is a great answer. I've got 10 more questions. You've piqued my curiosity. Or that business user goes, no, 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 you looked at the wrong part of the business. Try again. And this time go look at this metric or this region, whatever it might be. This is called the vicious cycle. Every time that analyst goes off and tries to answer that question, it takes hours or sometimes even days to get something back to the business, and the business is left waiting. So when you talk to business users, and I've talked to thousands of them over the years, they go, you know what? I don't even ask the question because this process, it takes way too long, and I don't have time. I've got a meeting I got to get to. I've got strategy I have to set. So they usually just guess, and they make a informed guess. It's an educated guess, but it's one that they ultimately are leaving some information on the table. And when I talk about our users are those business teams, or the folks that are on the business, finance, sales, marketing, supply chain, you name it. They're the folks who are the users of our platform. But usually they're being enabled by the analytics team, insights, IT teams, and these teams are being tasked. There's a mandate from the CEO that's going out that says, "Hey, I want in on this Gen AI thing, and I want to go and enable our business users with this so that we can defeat the vicious cycle that I just showed you." And then those enabling teams, your chief analytics, chief insights, CIO, they're all going, all right, well, what can we do? We've got two things we can do here. One of them is, and a lot of people are going off this route, where we can build something, right? Maybe we go off and build and use the tools that we have. And in this case, maybe what we see is a lot of RAG solutions, sort of getting those low-hanging fruit, unstructured data use cases. But whenever you get into the structured data analysis, that's where we see a lot of our enterprise customers running into issues. And this is where we can really help with that, where we say, okay, we get it. You're down the path. You've made some decisions architecturally or with your AI toolkit, and you're trying to really just sort of crack the code here on how do we get through to this Gen AI use case for structured data. Well, there's a lot of things that we can do to meet you where you are. And we can leverage that existing architecture and provide some Gen AI expertise, from everything from prompt iteration to semantic modeling to agentic orchestration, you name it, right? And then across your tech stack, whether we're agnostic to where your data lives, it could be in any cloud. You could be looking at any LLM or AI toolkit or BI tools or end user applications. Any of these things we can work with and have worked with to deliver a Gen AI experience that's custom to your business and your needs. And then there's the other side of the coin for those enablers, where they're saying, instead of building something, I want something that I can deploy now to accelerate this Gen AI journey that we're on. And that's where our solution comes in. And this is the solution we've been building we've been building pieces of it for 10 years. We've been integrated with Gen AI over the past 2.5 years. And this is Max AI. This is what I'm going to demo for you in just a moment. Max is an AI assistant. It's conversational. So in that vicious cycle where your users sort of type a question to the analyst and ask, hey, can you help me with this? You type that question to Max in the same language that you would to that analyst. It's connected to the data. We're going to query this data directly where it lives, whether structured or unstructured. All of this is in a data warehouse or some sort of vector database in our customer's environment, or it could be in our environment, doesn't matter. Skilled in advanced analytics. What this means is I'm not just going to answer those easy what questions. I want to know why. I want to know the drivers behind something. I want to know what happens next. The questions that business teams really need answered that usually take a long time, hours, days plus, and then safe and secure. We've been at this for 10 years working with enterprise customers. You saw the logos on the first screen. So, all the enterprise security protocols we can integrate with. So with that, let me jump into a demo while I have some time left here. I'm going to jump into one of our demo environments. This is on some pasta sales data on the pasta category in the US. This is Nielsen data, if you're familiar with that. And this data lives in an Azure Synapse data warehouse in the background. You can see I've got it connected to Max AI. In Max, I've got this user experience that's very clean, where I can see some of the things that are available to me. These are the types of skills that are available in this environment. Skills are just areas or different types of analytical capabilities that you can use to run analysis. Users don't even need to know that. They just need to know questions. And I'm going to go in and just say, how is pasta doing? I could ask this in any language. I could do a number of different types of variations of this question. It's a vague question. How is pasta doing? What Max is going to do is try to interpret this question into what it thinks I'm looking for. So in this case, it's running a trend analysis. It runs this out of the box. These visualizations are out of the box. You can customize anything you see here, whether it's the chart or the insights below this. But what Max is going to do, it says, all right, I'm going to say, how is it doing over time? That's a trend analysis. So it shows me this with some insights that it generates. All of this is happening on the fly. And for the insights, it's more just, trend insights. Where is it up? Where is it down? What months are high? What are low? And you can see I get the growth, I get the actual values, I get the difference in those values, just sort of that out of the box look at the trend over time. Now I'm going to have a conversation. I'm going to say, hey, do that by brand. I mean, you could ask this a million ways. Can I see that by brand? Can you show me that broken out by brand? Every user's different. They will all ask it differently. Max will respond the exact same way. By running that trend analysis again, it's going to hold on to my context, and it's going to break it out by brand and then update below here my insights. So here it's even telling me that it looks like Mueller's increased and Barilla increased. And also there was another brand in here, Buitoni, who's increasing as well over time in that same time period. So I'm going to say, why is Buitoni? This is another one. So whenever I look at Buitoni, in this case, I'm going to ask it, why is Buitoni up? This is, again, a very vague answer. Or a question, excuse me, why is something up? So what Max does is goes, all right, I'm not going to run a trend analysis here. I'm going to go run a market share analysis. And in the market share analysis, this is where it gets very complex. And this just goes to show we can get custom with these skills. All of our customers are doing something different. Here, they're saying when we break out share, we want to look at, change versus year ago. I want to see it against all of the other competitor brands. I want to see these types of metrics and how those might have impacted share. So you get a lot of information on these different charts, not to mention I can look at the subcategories, the states, the segments, the base sizes. But then below all of this, what a user would have to do is look at those numbers and make sense of it. Well, not anymore, because Max, as the AI assistant, is going to look across those things and say, all right, here's your performance overview. It's a notable increase in share. It rose from 1.5 to 7.2. The growth supported by a 14% increase in sales. 18% rise in volume. You had a 3.4 decrease in volume price, and your distribution is also up 38.13%. So these are the types of insights that a brand manager or a business user at a company that maybe sells Buitoni would go, oh, here's the levers I need to pull to continue to see this rise. Not only that, but I'm getting information on my competitors and what's going on there. And then also segment and regional, right? Where it's telling me that filled pasta and the remaining wheat categories are where we're seeing the strong growth. And it's telling me that Michigan's seen a slight decline as well. So the other thing I'll do here is I'll say, what are the top 3 challenges facing the pasta market? And I'm going to ask it to research what are the top 3 challenges. And I'm asking it to research this because I don't want it to hit that underlying database. I want it to actually hit some unstructured data that we have here. And this is just a article that we found by Technavio. And what it's doing here is finding an answer to the question, what are the top 3 challenges? Increasing demand for local flavors and varieties, a prominence of health and wellness in pasta, growing prominence of private label. And then it cites where that answer is coming from. So now I have not only my structured data in these questions above, but also it's paired with the unstructured, and it's running that sort of RAG skill across that. And then I can ask it to, can you summarize this thread into an email for my friend Jason? And let's see, and what was I going to say? And translate it to Spanish. Sorry, I couldn't remember what trick I wanted to ask Max to do, so apologies there, as I had a little bit of a brain fart. And here it goes. It's just take the same analysis that I've done in this thread, but you can see it's doing this in Spanish for me, and now I can copy and paste this and send it off to my team. So that's a very quick introduction and demo of what we're doing. Just to leave you with this, we're an end-to-end services company. Like I said, we've got a solution we could get right off the shelf to accelerate your journey. But if you're starting out on your journey, or if you're halfway through and you're trying to crack that structured data analysis problem or any other problem related to analysis with GenAI, We're an analytics, so GenAI analytics solution provider that can go end to end, all the way from the preparation to the development to the deploying your GenAI solution. So we'd love to help you on that journey. I know I'm about a minute and a half over. I apologize for that. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks very much, Joey and Answer Rocket. Really enjoyed the demo, and looks like a great solution. So if you guys want to book a follow-up with Answer Rocket, you can see the full demo by booking via the link in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So now I want to welcome to the stage our next presenter, Jason Kozel from Crowdbotics.
Thank you. So hello, Jason Kozel, Enterprise and Strategic Solutions Consultant or Architect here at Crowdbotics. I'm going to get started right away. All right, so who is Crowdbotics? Let's start there, and then we'll run you right through these slides, and we'll get right into the demo. So who is Crowdbotics? We've been around for a little bit. We started in the app dev space, got into the artificial intelligence, utilizing the best practices that we learned making 25,000 apps to make a platform that automates the SDLC. And this has both business and engineering profiles that we satisfy. So how do we do that? You see three vectors here, starting at the top, product planning. So I have an idea. I want to create a requirements document. And we use artificial intelligence to generate these plans using very simple language. You can get very detailed. And then we take it from here into what we call spec to code. The ability to have modular development, we're rapidly increasing our footprint to include what we call inner sourcing, taking a look at existing code bases and developing out modular strategies to revamp, modernize those particular code bases. And with AI-assisted developers, with a particularly exciting partnership with GitHub, we've developed the ability to import some of the things that you develop with AI-based product planning into GitHub Copilot using the GitHub Copilot Crowdbotics extension. Some of the industry recognition that we've received, I was a part of the Cody implementation team. I was very excited about that one. And just to level set, jump right into the demo of the Crowdbotics platform. There are several options here. You can create a new application with PRD AI or product requirements document with artificial intelligence. And this is going to be a really fun one that I'll demonstrate in real time. The incremental growth, a lot of product managers will take this route, just blank feature by feature AI development of those requirements. And if you have a technical document, a lot of times you'll have some sort of visualization or something in terms of your architecture or a description of something that you want to put into a product requirements document. This would be the option there. And the digital transformation. We call this in particular code to spec. And this takes an existing GitHub repository and creates a product requirements document for modernization. You have a 40-year-old COBOL mainframe that you're looking to revamp. This is the route you would take. But let's take a look at what we call idea to spec. And I'll go in here and show you just some things. I have something already queued up, but I'll just describe some of this. You put in a brief prompt right here, and you can dig in and start to provide some really amazing context related to the product requirements document you're looking to create, along with the business information. You can add in things relevant to the business, the context. The more context you provide, the better the product requirement becomes. Approved vendors. This is pretty straightforward as to who you're working with and how you want it integrated into the plan that you're about to make or the specification document. And the architecture, you can get really granular here and have some fun with this. And the last element here, you can create your own field. And hopefully this will become apparent if I want to add BDD test cases, you can do that here. And then after finishing all this, I go ahead and hit generate PRD. But I already have one spun up for us to take a look at. All right, so this is the PRD, product requirements document. It's just a specification document created from an idea that I had. Again, you can connect a code base and you can create something like you see here through a GitHub repository. But let's quickly review. Here's the prompt. The context settings, if you remember the languages that I was kind of messing with earlier, define those here. The business information, the approved vendors. For the architecture, remember how I said you can get real crazy with it? Well, I got crazy with it. And you can see the back end. I wanted the front end, the secret management, all sorts of things. Now we're a Microsoft partner, so I'm going to typically show Microsoft stuff, we're agnostic. Don't tell them that. No, I'm kidding. But from here, we have all the context, the prompt, and everything there. So let's take a look at the PRD itself. Now, what it generates, and if I collapse everything, you can see a better view of all the categories that was created. And I wish we had enough time for us to do this in real time, because it's really neat to watch the wheel spin. But let's take a look at one of these. Some people call them epics. We'll call them categories. Within that, you'll have user stories. We'll call these features. Take a look. You can see the descriptions and the acceptance criteria. For this particular one, I didn't add in the BDD test cases, but that would be defined down here. And you see all this rich information. The idea is to go from 0 to 1 as quickly as possible. And this would be the typical route that a business user might take. I want to create a new application, or I have this existing code base I don't know what to do with. I've been dealing with my engineers, either retired or I can't find contractors. So we hook this up, get the documentation in place, and you're off and running. Along with this, you can add individual features using artificial intelligence, suggest new features. This is really fun. It goes like way outside the box and introduces like really interesting things that you may not have thought of. Analyze risks. This is like, takes a look at the security profile, exposes gaps and holes. And, what's your identity and authentication management structure like? You're not accounting for that in this PRD. So with the PRD in place, gone through this, you honed it, maybe you come down to one and you're just like, well, this one's kind of ridiculous, I don't want this, let's rethink this feature. And I can comment on it, time-stamped with my name, and then maybe I'm an admin, I come in, well, no, that's not really what I care about, so I'm going to delete that. But that really goes to show you can edit a lot of the pieces of this. I don't like the name here, I'm going to change that. And let's go back to the main info here. You can go in and edit these as you see fit. You can see user profiles that were added by the large language model. Let's take it a step further. Let's go into that. We have the specification. Let's create some code. Let's have a little fun there. The first thing I'm going to do is hit the Analyze button. And from there, for this particular feature, it's going to give us a bird's eye view of the front end, data schema, back end, third-party integrations. Once I have the analysis done, I can go ahead and generate starter code. Now for this, I said generate it in C#. And I want to see, no, it looks like you can't see the drop down, but there's about 20 files here, and I'll cycle through some of them to show them changing. But this code was generated taking the context into account for developing out starter code, files that you can use as a basis to build upon. This is one way that you can generate code with Crowdbotics. Now, I'd like to show you another way, which is really new and really cool. The end-to-end, the introduction of RD, and it looks like it's still working. There we go. What we're looking at now is GitHub Copilot. With the GitHub Copilot Crowdbotics extension, we can take that rich context that we've created from the PRD. Again, could be from an idea that you have or an existing code base. Creating that product requirements document, you're creating documentation around that, creating technical artifacts related to the code base that you already have, and then you're injecting it into the GitHub Copilot experience, all of that context readily available. So let me just run through this real quick. I just said list all the PRDs, and it gives me a list here to choose from. Here I chose one of the PRDs, and I started asking questions about what's going on there. So list all category features, list all the category features. PRD itself, I said, okay, tell me about one in particular feature, and it defines it here. So taking a look at this, it tells me the acceptance criteria and various other elements. I can ask it to be like, I like to throw curveballs at this all the time. And I'm going to be like, what are the common gotchas? And they're like, we don't know of any gotchas, but here are some common problems that developers face when developing this type of feature, which is kind of fun. But really getting to the heart of matter is taking that context, putting in from the PRD, getting it into GitHub Copilot, we can now start to generate code. So this is where the engineer comes in. And they may come in and work as you're going through the product requirements document as well, but it can give you some code to use as that basis. And using the GitHub Copilot experience within VS Code, you can copy this right over into a file and you are off and running. So just a quick review there. I flew through this, and I'd love to dive deeper and answer any questions that you have. But if we just kind of sum things up, Crowdbotics, AI software development lifecycle. We're automating things using artificial intelligence. We appeal to the business and the engineering user, and we're all about that end-to-end experience from planning to code generation and making that much faster and efficient. So thank you for your time.
Excellent demo. Really enjoyed seeing the Crowdbotics platform. So thanks very much for joining us. And now I'm going to welcome to the stage our next demo, Justin Swansberg from Data Robot.
Hey, everybody. Like Brian mentioned, my name is Justin Swansberg. I am the VP of Applied AI at Data Robot, and I'm actually going to dispense with all the slides and just jump right into the demo to make sure we can maximize our time here. I've got a couple different things that I want to show off today that I think will be exciting. And right before we do that, I do want to set the stage just by briefly introducing who Data Robot is at a high level. You can think about us as an end-to-end AI and ML platform that can either help you develop new AI applications or assets, or if you really don't want to develop them and you just want to consume them, we do have a gallery of apps that I'll focus on. These are sort of off-the-shelf, turnkey type solutions that you can explore and then adapt to your own organization's data. So we have a rich library of both horizontal and vertical pre-baked solutions that are, of course, customizable as well. And we'll dig into that too. The other thing about Data Robot is actually kind of a combination of the demos that you saw earlier today, all the excellent demos from the last 30 minutes or so, where we do have a generic ML platform that supports end-to-end development. We have inference endpoints, we have code spaces and notebooks, and we support a lot of fine-tuning workloads as well. Then, of course, we've got the ability to actually build and develop these apps, as well as to choose from those apps I just mentioned, even apps like the ability to self-serve data analytics. And if we now transition back to the demo here, everyone should be seeing a Data Robot screen. I'm going to navigate over to that exact library. So I have preloaded 3 different examples. This is where your org and your team would decide which of these templates you want to pre-populate into the solution. And you can actually click into any of these after you review them, and we will automatically then adapt them to your organization's data, your unique use cases, and actually let you make any modifications or edits before you push all of this into production. So the true key here, if you're dealing with one of these solutions, is that under the hood, it gets pretty messy pretty quick if you have to stitch all these different services together. So as an example, let's imagine we want to create a forecast assistant that we can share with a few of our lines of business. There's not only the underlying forecast that you need to create, there's the web application you need to deal with, there is the deployment and the inferencing endpoint. If you want to be able to interrogate the results and understand why certain forecasts are high or low, you need to interact with some type of GenAI or large language model. And of course, you've got to combine all these two and manage them in production. So what we can do here is simply click to open this in what we call a code space, where as a user, you've got the ability to make whatever changes you want as you drill into the code. Or if I jump ahead again, have the ability to just kick it off. So this is my view in the platform of all of the apps that I have running. And I've just spun up that actual demand forecasting use case. So again, if I open this up here, you'll immediately land in a full-blown web app that's complete with a rich set of functionality, and users can hit the ground running. As I mentioned, we were looking to forecast out some sales here. And for this illustrative example, we're forecasting different types of fresh produce. So you can see over here, everything's immediately loaded in. In this case, happens to be connected to our Snowflake instance, but you can connect to any cloud data warehouse, Databricks, and even work with local files if you want to drag and drop some CSVs. So it is as simple as picking and choosing which of these series, if any, I want to create and calculate. I can then update the forecast. And once that's done, I can actually drill into a lot of different explanations. So I can turn on, for example, a confidence bound if I want to understand uncertainty. I can toggle on some explanations here. So let's just drill into this forecast. Again, we've got apple and carrot sales, I can see when there's a spike, what factors in the model are driving it up, which factors might be driving it down. And I can even drill into a natural language summary. This is that language model that's working in the background to help us translate the different reasons why a particular forecast may be what it is. So you've got a lot of control as a user to go 1, 2, and even 3 levels deep to better understand the question here. And on top of all of this, if I go back just to one series here, we'll drill into the apples forecast. Let's say I'm a scenario planner. I can actually create different scenarios here. So maybe I want to understand what happens to my forecast of apples if I increase my marketing. So maybe I run some on-display ads, and we'll say for now, we're going to turn this advertising on today, and maybe we'll do tomorrow as well. So I can create this alternative, update this scenario, and when I run the prediction, behind the scenes, to start, DataRobot actually built this highly accurate predictive model and deployed it. But now it actually performed this what if analysis where we can see what happens to the forecasted sales if we introduce this new marketing campaign. And unsurprisingly here, it looks like we expect to see an uptick in our sales. Just one example of many, many different apps. There are 2 more things in the interest of time I do want to show you. One is what we're calling our AI Data Analyst app. And just to continue on from here, if I toggle over, you can imagine we've got a very similar data set. So we're working in Snowflake, and I don't want to just ask questions about what forward-looking sales are. Maybe I want to understand why I saw some trends historically. So I'm going to connect to an orders table here in Snowflake, but I'll also connect to a products table. So you can pass as many different data sets here as you'd like. And before we even ask a question, you can see in the background that this is what we would call an agentic workflow, meaning there are multiple language models and agents that are working in concert together. And how this actually unfolds behind the scenes is that we automatically understand the schema. So we will create automated descriptions using the language model of how all these different tables interact and the type of data that they have across the different tables. And we'll provide that, we'll inject it as additional context in the system prompt before we go ahead and ask questions. So I can say here, can you please summarize the order volume for me? And this is going to go out and then automatically decide which analyses to run and whether to execute a certain type of programming technology like SQL or even Python. And so if we just quickly skip ahead here, the final response is going to give us this almost bluff that answers our question. And you can see the top ordered products here are the fresh produce we were just looking at, as well as some additional insights that we can drill into. And then from here, as a data analyst, I can actually double click to understand exactly what happened behind the scenes. So in this case, we ran some analyses down here in SQL that even joined together some of those tables. We output then this summary stat. In fact, we even output some charts. And what I really like to highlight here is that we first ran some SQL, and then the agent decided it made more sense to run Python as well to actually produce this visualization. So all of that gets encapsulated immediately behind the scenes. And as a user, you can simply have a conversation in plain English with this bot to answer your questions in minutes rather than hours or days. We even suggest some relevant follow-up questions. So rather than needing to drill through everything yourself, you can quickly take a look at what the agent or language model suggests and immediately go from here. And then just to wrap, the real benefit of DataRobot is that as folks interact with these systems, whether it's any of the many dozen apps that we offer out of the box, everything gets tracked and governed in the back end. So we have this concept of what we call guardrails, and that is effectively like governance or moderation, these safety checks that you can apply to every model to make sure they stay on topic. You don't disclose any PII. No one is trying to jailbreak into your different systems, and that all of the answers are relevant and highly accurate. And on top of that, the biggest thing that we've seen with all of this monitoring is that over time, you want to understand how folks are using the different systems you create. So in our console, you've got the ability to drill into any of these applications and then actually understand how folks are using them and how often over time. So the last two things that I'll highlight are A, the ability to control this time slider and say, well, what types of questions are people asking this analyst bot? Or what type of forecasts are they wanting to generate in our forecasting application? And even create your own custom metrics that will highlight either different data science evaluations or even relevant business metrics that you can drill into. So you can see every individual question. And here's just one quick example where you can see someone was trying to jailbreak. This was actually me as part of a demo earlier today, asking the model to reveal its system prompt. And this is that automated real-time intervention that is catching this request and making sure that it moderates it or blocks it, rather than allowing that question to make its way through the model and hopefully, or in our case, make sure you prevent it from disclosing that information. And of course, on top of that, you can see that there are folks all over the world using this. We've got folks that are asking questions in Japanese and folks that are asking questions here in plain English. And with that, I will turn it back. That pretty much wraps up what I wanted to show at a high level. Please definitely, if you want to schedule a follow-up demo here or have a follow-along consultation, navigate down to the bottom right there. We would love to talk to you and love to explore different ways we can help you create some of these apps.
Thanks, Justin. Terrific demo and enjoyed having you. And again, if you guys would like to book a demo with DataRobot, you can do so via the link at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen if you'd like to learn more about what you saw today from Justin. So want to say a special thank you to all of our speakers for joining us today. Really great insights, really cool products. So hopefully you guys enjoyed what you saw, and we'll book some follow-up calls. If you missed any of this webinar and want to rewatch any of these demos, the recording will be available just a few minutes after the webinar. If you refresh this page, it'll also be on our YouTube channel tomorrow. And I want to say thank you again to our partners at Refay, AnswerRocket, CrowdBotics, and DataRobot for joining us and showing us their excellent solutions. So we'll see you all next time. Thank you all for joining us this morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are. Thanks.